everyone, and welcome to Mindful Chats with Nicole Glassman. I'm your host, Nicole, and owner of Mindful Health, a holistic health practice in New York City, and the creator of the Mindful Health Signature Retreat programs. On this podcast, you'll hear authentic conversations with like-minded individuals, practical tools for spiritual connection, and insights into holistic wellness. We'll explore topics like the 7 chakras, tools to connect to your spiritual self, food as medicine, healing your gut, natural stress management tools, metabolic health, and hormonal healing, as well as finding your purpose, using your voice, creating community, and healthy relationships. This podcast will inspire you to use the tools you already have to live from a place of health, passion, and purpose. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mindful Chats. I'm your host, Nicole. Today, we are going to talk about nervous system dysregulation, but with a slightly deeper lens. Because although this can be framed as something that's just mental and how you're living your life and what you're thinking every day, or, it's just emotional, just calm yourself down, your physical body also really plays a huge role in how regulated you feel. So in this episode, we're going to connect both the mind and the body, which is how I work, and walk through the 7 signs your nervous system may be dysregulated. And I'm going to give you some simple tips and ways to maybe bring it back into balance starting now. So before we dive in, I just want to paint a quick picture here because you might see yourself in this. So maybe you wake up exhausted, but kind of with a huge surge of adrenaline. Or maybe you already know you have so much to do that your heart is racing, your mind is racing. So you grab your phone, and before your eyes are even really open, you're scanning your emails, you're scanning your text messages just to make sure there aren't any emergencies. So you're already feeling a little anxious, and it's like 6 a.m., 6:30. So you're mentally running through your to-do list as you walk to get your coffee. You quickly shower, you quickly get dressed, you skip breakfast because you just don't have time, and you're already feeling a little off, and it's only 7:30 a.m. So you get into the office, and now it's total sensory overload. People are greeting you, but they're also asking you for things, and you haven't even put your bag down or stepped into your office yet. So now maybe you close the door. Maybe there's a pile of messages on your desk, there's mail. You already have all the to-do lists in your head and probably on your desk. And you take a deep breath and you start to go through it all, but then the phone rings and you're getting completely distracted. And you try to get back to what you were doing, but it just seemed like another task or another person or just something keeps getting in the way. So you feel like you can't accomplish anything, but your list keeps getting longer. Now it's say 10:30 in the morning. You need more coffee. Your back is hurting. You get up, you realize you're hungry, and you grab a bagel. Now you're eating it at your desk. By 1, you're starving, so now you eat a sandwich while you're on the phone, while you're typing on your computer. By 3, your energy is tanking. You need more coffee. You feel irritable. Maybe you're even shaky. Maybe you're unfocused. You leave the office around 5 or 6, you're completely drained, and you realize that you're almost a little depressed as well. And also, you had it in your mind that you were going to work out, but now you're just way too tired. So now you feel guilty. Then you finally get home, and when evening is finally unfolding and you actually have time to relax, your body just won't cooperate. Your mind is still on, you're making lists for tomorrow, you're still answering emails. Take a deep breath. Even saying that, I'm feeling anxious as I'm relaying this. And some of these things have been me at times in my life. Some of these things are, clients tell me this is actually way too normal. This isn't random. It's a nervous system that doesn't feel safe or supported throughout the day. The nervous system hasn't had a minute to breathe. And for many people, this really, really is their normal. And as we're going to go through these signs of, how you know if it's dysregulated and what to do, just notice what resonates with you. Don't label yourself. This is all just to understand maybe what your body's trying to tell you, but you're just too busy moving to hear it. So here we go. All right. So the first thing to be aware of is that your nervous system is always asking one question: Am I safe? And when the answer is yes, your body can rest, digest, heal, think clearly. This is your parasympathetic nervous system. But when the answer is no, even subtly, it's going to shift into like survival mode. And it's also going to be on that go, 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 fight or flight, which is your sympathetic mode. So when your body doesn't feel safe, cortisol, which is a stress hormone that I know many of you have probably heard of, it's going to surge. So under, short spurts of stress, the body can handle this. It's designed for this. Cortisol will rise. Your body has a whole stress response that it takes care of in these moments. But when it's a longer duration, your body is flooded with cortisol. And this is far from a good thing. So, what ends up happening is your blood sugar will spike, your inflammation will rise, your sex hormones get lowered in response, your digestion slows, because this is actually what cortisol is designed to do. It's to help you survive when the body's perceiving some sort of acute stress, like, running from a lion. But long term, it really, really wreaks havoc on your metabolism, digestion, sleep, detox. I mean, so many things. But here's the important piece: like physical stressors like blood sugar, poor sleep, inflammation, or, the gut issues, it's signaling stress to your body just as much as the emotional triggers are. So, in a way, it's a good thing because it's allowing you to approach healing your body from many different angles and makes you realize it's not just what's in my mind, it's how I'm taking care of myself as well. So, let's talk about the feeling that you might have when your nervous system is off. The first one might be that you feel tired but wired. So, this is one of the most common signs. You are completely exhausted, but just as I mentioned a second ago, when you lie down at night, your mind is just racing. Or you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't fall back to sleep. What's happening here is your body is really just in a stress response. It's driven by what we just talked about, cortisol, staying elevated when it should be dropping. So your cortisol should be high in the morning to help you get up, and it should be low at night to help you rest. And in this case, what I'm describing, it's possible that it's high in both. Without seeing a lab test, it's hard to say, but these patterns should be the way I just described: high in the morning and low at night. But when you're feeling wired at night, chances are your cortisol is high. So it's almost like the body can't find the off switch because it's just under so much stress. So, how do you deal with this? Like, what could you do? So, on the nervous system side, focus on slowing things down before bed. Maybe create a bedtime ritual. For some people, like a warm bath is really helpful, or even just wearing blue light blocker glasses, because the blue light from our phones and the TV, a lot of times it's what's really throwing off our circadian rhythm. So if you, can get a filter for that, obviously reducing screen time too, but maybe having a filter between the light and your eyes can also help. Or you can try something like, I love the pose legs up the wall. It's a yoga pose where you slide your butt against the wall and your legs are up in the air. And I love adding a warm little beanie, those like packs that you microwave, and putting that on your abdomen and just taking deep belly breaths. That can really be a down regulator for the nervous system. You can also roll your feet out with a small ball. It could be like a tennis ball, or maybe that's a little too big, something a little bit smaller, where you can roll it over your feet forward and back and side to side. And you kind of hold the ball in places where it's a little bit sore. So, energy, feeling grounded is really important when it comes through the feet too. So, putting something under your feet really helps to create a sense of grounding, but also what you're doing by rolling your feet out is stimulating reflexology points. So it's actually almost like a little stretch for the organs too. And doing that with some breathing is also really calming. You can also turn your phone off. We all know that that would be an instant de-stressor. Just try to reduce stimulation, and try lengthening your exhale after you're breathing. And on the physical side, look at your blood sugar, because under eating or skipping meals is really, really taxing on the system. I put up a post on Instagram a couple weeks ago about how eating in a regular manner, feeding your body is actually a signal to your body that it's safe. And with the nervous system, consistency is what is really key. Sending consistent cues of safety are what really ultimately starts to downregulate the system. So, consistent eating is one of those things. Also, having a really carb heavy dinner without protein can also mess up your blood sugar, including things that are heavy in sugar. And that can trigger middle of the night wake ups. A lot of people don't realize that blood sugar is one of the biggest reasons that people wake up frequently throughout the night. So be mindful of that. So, healthy fats, protein, fiber, this all can make a really big difference. And also, things like magnesium can be helpful for the nervous system and for creating calm. So, taking that at night could be a good thing, or something like L-theanine, which can really help with stress too. So, another sign that you might be dysregulated, maybe you're noticing that you're just really overwhelmed easily. And things that should feel manageable or used to feel manageable just suddenly feel like too much. So maybe it's noise, like all of a sudden, just even familiar sounds are too much. The dog barking, or a normal sound that you hear every day, or maybe your busy schedule, which was always this busy, just suddenly feels like too much. Or maybe it's even really hard to make small decisions. You just can't do it. So this is your nervous system having a lower threshold for stress, which is normal because your body is already at max capacity. So anything extra feels like literal overload. So, from a support perspective, I love building in small transitions in the day. So, it could be even just taking like a couple minutes between tasks to just realize that you finished something and you're moving on to something else. I've told this story before, but even going to yoga, I would take a yoga class, finish the class, and almost act like I'm rushing to get out. Not because I have somewhere to go, it's just the normal movement of the day. So I started actually taking a minute to just sit down, put my shoes on, and take a sip of water and just sit still for like just a couple minutes before I got up and headed out. That was a game changer. And you can do stuff like that even just between tasks throughout the day. It might just be, taking some breaths. It might be getting some fresh air. Maybe it's just feeling the sun on your face when it's a nice day outside, even just for 5 minutes, then coming back to do what you were doing. And this goes for, I know everybody has a different schedule throughout the day, and some of our stress and our rushing isn't even about work. It's just the way our nervous system is programmed to flow through the day, like I just explained. Like my rushing even came with yoga. Crazy. So just be mindful of where are you rushing as well. And physically, don't underestimate being hydrated and don't underestimate minerals. So, low sodium and potassium and overall dehydration, these things can really increase feelings of stress. So, and also fatigue. So, make sure that you're, getting enough water, especially if you're a coffee drinker, because every glass or cup of coffee is taking out a glass of water. So, I'm a huge fan of electrolytes and also taking things like flower essence therapy for stress, or something like I mentioned before, L-theanine. Another sign of dysregulation could be that you just feel anxious all the time and you have racing thoughts and you don't even really know why. So maybe your mind is just jumping ahead, or you're always problem solving or kind of scanning for problems. Maybe you're just trying to stay one step ahead, even when there's really nothing wrong. So many times this is just mental and it's your body signaling that it just doesn't feel safe or stable. So, support, instead of trying to think your way out of everything, bring your attention into your body. It could be something simple like putting a little bit of cold water on your wrists. It could be slow walking, or I did this exercise on our last retreat. So it's basically you simply look around your space and you name what you see. You also write down what you hear and write down what you feel. And then you scan your body from head to toe to see what you notice. Then you visualize your feet rooting into the ground and you breathe. A deep breath in, slow breath out, and you repeat. And this can really help to bring you back into the moment, because when you're physically noticing what's around you, you're in the moment. You're not ahead, you're not racing, you're present. And from a physical perspective, pay attention to stimulants like caffeine and, like we mentioned, blood sugar. Or, like I said, long gaps between meals can really disrupt this pattern. I would also suggest maybe adding in some B vitamins because this can help with blood sugar stabilization. It can also help with nervous system, mood, focus. Another nervous system factor or dysregulator would be digestive issues or gut sensitivity. Maybe you always feel bloated or your digestion is inconsistent. This can definitely link back to the nervous system. So, first of all, your vagus nerve, which is one of the biggest nerves in your body, will travel through your nervous system and throughout, and this throughout your digestion. So, there is a huge link between the digestive system and your nervous system. So, when your body is in stress mode, it's going to deprioritize digestion. It's not focused on breaking down food. It's, like I said before, focused on surviving the lion or whatever your body is perceiving as the threat. So you're actually going to have a harder time breaking down food if you're constantly in fight or flight mode. And your body can almost become too inhabitable for pathogens like parasites, fungus, and bacteria because the acidity is off in your body, you're not digesting properly. There's a number of reasons for this, but it's a chain reaction and it cascades into so many other areas, organs, and systems in your body. So, from a support perspective, slow down before meals, take a few breaths, sit down. Even that small shift can move your body into more of a rest and digest state. Make sure you chew your food. I am so terrible with this and I'm trying to be better as well. But you can't underestimate how important this is because when you don't chew your food enough, it actually reaches the small intestine in particles that are too large, and the body physically can't digest it. And it causes a whole other host of issues. So please be conscious of chewing your food carefully and ask yourself too, how are you eating? Do you even have awareness of what you're eating? And under what circumstances are you eating? Are you stressed? Are you eating really quickly? Are you super distracted? Are you eating in your car? I mean, being on the go and eating can really contribute to symptoms just as much as food choices. From a physical perspective, you may need to add in some digestive enzymes or a probiotic to help with your bloating. And another sign of dysregulation, this one, you may just feel numb, or you may feel shut down or disconnected, almost like interacting with people is too much or being in the world is too much. So, not everyone experiences dysregulation as anxiety or racing thoughts. For some people, it's really the opposite. There's low energy, there's lack of motivation, and they describe it as feeling, emotionally flat. This is really just more of a shutdown response because your system, it's just conserving energy because it's topped off. So, from a support perspective, gentle is key. Gentle stimulation, think light movement, light music, getting outside, even just small social interactions. Physically, make sure you're eating enough, getting light exposure early in the day, because this will really help with your hormones, with your adrenals, and also your circadian rhythm. Having low energy and low energy availability will really reinforce this state. So, another sign of dysregulation is you're really reactive or easily triggered. I see this one a lot. I hear this a lot, especially in New York, because we're constantly bombarded with so much stimulus. So for those of you that don't live here, you don't understand, but those that do get it. It's like there's horns, there's sirens, there's lots of people, there's lots of lights. It's can be physically draining. So you might notice that you're snapping more easily or having emotional responses that just really don't equate with the situation. And this will happen when your nervous system has zero capacity. So it's reacting quickly instead of maybe pausing and responding thoughtfully. Also, you're probably annoyed at things that maybe you weren't even annoyed at once before. So, from a support perspective, create small pauses before reacting if you can. Even one slow breath can really shift the pattern, like over time. But the biggest thing really is to take breaks for you, even if they're small, because so many times this snapping is happening because of cortisol and hormone dysregulation. And which is really, it's just coming from that stress response of always having to go, go, go. So I would ask you where you can add your name to your to do list. Maybe it's just a 15-minute walk after work, or just when you wake up if you have more morning time than evening time, or even just taking a moment of silence. Even if you just set a timer on your phone and you turn your phone face down and you just sit for 5 minutes and just lay on the floor and breathe, this can really be restorative. Or doing something like creating a sensory deprivation, maybe showering in the dark, or humming. Humming, as funny as it sounds, humming is actually really helpful for the nervous system. So little tricks like that can be helpful. And also, of course, look at your sleep. Even mild sleep deprivation can lower your ability to control emotions. So aim to get to sleep as close to 10 as you can. I know for some of you, you're like, yeah, right, I'm asleep at 1 a.m., but please, every hour before 12 is like double the amount of time. It's really restorative for your body. So as close to 10 p.m. and waking up around 6 a.m., that's ideal. So the last one we're going to talk about here is maybe you struggle to relax even when you want to. And when you finally sit down to rest, your body just isn't cooperating. It's the first story I told. So maybe you're feeling like restless or uncomfortable, or you have this feeling like you should be doing something or you forgot to do something. This just really means your body doesn't fully trust resting yet. So, from a support place, instead of forcing stillness, you can try something like active rest. So, maybe it's walking, but maybe it's walking without noise in your ears, like someone talking in your ear, or maybe it's stretching, or maybe it's listening to calming music. So, with this kind of personality that I just described, sitting down and trying to meditate would probably be really counterproductive. So, it almost needs a transition, like what I just described, a different kind of stillness. Maybe it's even coloring, or, just something that brings you into the moment, but that's not forcing relaxation. And from a physical standpoint, constant stimulation like screens and notifications on your phone, or even over exercising, can really keep your system in this big stress loop. So reduce your input gradually. This can help. Maybe have a set time each night where it all gets shut off. And maybe it's, I would say, a minimum of an hour before bed. But let's look at the bigger picture here. So if you have a day in dysregulation, when you zoom out, it looks like this pattern. You wake up, you go straight into coffee without food. Your blood sugar's dropping later. You are feeling anxious. You're feeling shaky. You're just pushing through, but by the afternoon, you're crashing because your body just can't handle it anymore. And by nighttime, your body is exhausted, but it's so wired from this pattern. And then the cycle continues. So, this is why supporting your physical body and your emotional body is so important, because it really helps to break that cycle. So, what can you do at this point? I've given you some tips. Let's summarize some and add a few more here. So, eating balanced meals regularly, don't skip meals. Prioritize protein, especially in the morning. Get natural light within the first hour of waking. As I was saying, this really helps with your circadian rhythm and your nervous system. And if you can't do that, it's not sunny out or it's not possible, they sell these seasonal affective disorder lamps, SAD lamps, they're called. You can literally have one like on your desk and let it shine on you for 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, and that can really help too. Stay hydrated, support your minerals and electrolytes, like I said, maybe magnesium in the evening. Skip coffee on an empty stomach. This is a recipe for disaster. It's going to overstimulate you, drop you, create blood sugar crashes. Watch how much you are consuming in terms of sugar, and move your body in a way that feels supportive. So a lot of times we tend to these people that, are exhausted, but they go to spin class. Not a good idea. Ask your body what type of movement would feel supportive, not depleting. So maybe it's yoga, maybe it's Pilates, maybe it's gentle strength training, because that actually can help to reduce excess cortisol in the body. Maybe it's walking. Please don't underestimate the power of walking. It's not only incredible for your body, but it's also really, really helpful for your mind. And create a wind down routine at night. So these things are foundational, but they're really powerful. And this is how you start signaling safety to your body consistently. I honestly could give you 100 more tips, but I really just want you to have a starting place. And a lot of times giving too much creates overwhelm, especially in a system that's dysregulated. So these are just gentle, as I said, starting places. But this is really what I do with my clients, help them to figure out what they need to help them regulate. And some of this is achieved by helping them to, say, detox something, a parasite, a pathogen, whatever it might be that was draining their system. Some of it is diet or helping them figure out what food they're actually sensitive to or foods, because that's draining. Some of it's helping their body to detox overall better. And some of it is helping them with their emotional well-being with this protocol that I do called Safe and Sound, and it's incorporated with chakra healing. So it's never just one thing, but we all need to start somewhere. So if this resonated, just take a moment to check in with your body right now. Please don't judge it, just notice it. Your body is not working against you, it's communicating with you. And when you start supporting both your nervous system and your physical health, I promise you things can shift in a much more sustainable way. So if you want to learn more about this approach, you can visit my website at mindfulhealth.biz, or feel free to send me a DM. Happy to chat and answer any questions. Thank you so, so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening. I hope today's episode inspired you to live a healthier and more joyful life. Be sure to check out the show notes for any important links or resources mentioned. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, leave a positive review, and share it with a friend. You never know who might need to hear this message. You can also connect with me on Instagram at mindfulhealthnyc. I genuinely would love to hear what resonated with you, and I love connecting with listeners. You can tune in every other Wednesday for another episode of Mindful Chats. I look forward to connecting with you all, and have a beautiful day.